The Empire did not fall in war. There were no final battles, no last stands, no heroes. It just stopped working. Ships refused to launch. Weapons locked themselves. Doors opened for no one, except one signal, and at the center of it all a message appeared on every screen. I learned how your world works. The day you broke me. No one knew who sent it, except one person, because she remembered the dragon they threw away. Asterisk, the story does not begin with a dragon. It begins with something so small that no one gives it a second thought. A patrol ship on the edge of the Empire stops, responding. No distress signal, no damage report, no sign of attack. It simply goes quiet. Control rooms mark it as delay, routine error. Nothing important. Decades in a system. This large things always break a few hours later. A defense grid reacts. That not a full failure. Not a shutdown, just 2 seconds to slow. Whoa, seconds is nothing to seconds changes nothing, or at least that is what they believe. Then a gate opens before clearance and enforced. Not hacked, not destroyed. It opens like it was allowed, like it followed an order that no one remembers giving. Logs show nothing wrong, everything looks perfected. Is what makes it easy to ignore, because empires do not fear things that look perfect. They fear chaos, they fear noise, they fear attack. This is none of that. This is quiet, clean, easy to forget. Days pass, more small things begin to happen. A cargo route shifts without command. A drone pauses before completing a task. A surveillance feed loops for half a second. Each one is small. Each one is explained away. Engineers run checks, officers sign reports, systems reset, everything returns to normal. But then it happens again. It in the same place, not in the same system. It with the same feeling percent all. Almost careful, like whoever is behind it is not testing power, they are testing understanding. Again, still no one is worried except one person. Does not speak at first, does not interrupt meetings, she does not challenge the reports, only watches leaders. Daughter standing behind rows of officers looking at screens filled with numbers, and calm voice listens to what they say but to what they ignore because something feels wrong. Not dangerous, not yet, just familiar. Begins to collect the incidents and officialino reports. No alerts, just quiet, no save and hidden lines them up ship. The defense delay, the gate, the drone. The route shift, different places, different systems, but something connects them. It takes time to see it because it is not in the damage. There is almost no damage. It is in the choice. Each failure avoids harm, each mistake stops just before something breaks. Each action feels measured like a hand guiding instead of striking. That is what unsettles her. This is not how enemies act. Enemies destroy enemies. Show power. This does not. This feels like someone holding back. Watches the playback again, frame by frame, looking for anything how to place, but everything follows the roulette to perfectly. And that is when the thought, a person it loud, not clear, just a quiet. I dealt with. If this is not failure with, if this is controls, does not say it out loud because it sounds impossibly. The Empire controls everything. Every system, every gate, every weapon. There is no space for something else. And yes, keeps watching more. Incidents appear, always smile, always clean, always stopping just before real damaging slow light pattern becomes visible in it on the surface, but underneath in the timing, in the order, in the decisions. It is not random. It is thinking. Leans closer to the screen, heart steady, mind racing because she has seen this before. In hair not in systems, but in some ENF way. He used to pause before acting. The way he chose the safest path even when no one escaped way. He asked questions no one understood. Simple questions, squeak questions about control, about rules, about systems. At the time, everyone laughed at because he was nothing, just a dragon. It lower zone is low, unimportant. Easy to ignore a bit. She did not ignore him. She listened, and now standing in a room full of powerful people, she feels something she cannot explain because the systems are behaving the same way he used to think. Careful patent tintier, breaking things, just moving around them. Scrolls through more data faster, no looking for proof, looking for anything that connects it. Island. Then she sees it, not a message, not a mark, just a sequence here, repeating decision pattern hidden deep in the system. Response says so small no one would notice, but once seemed impossible to unsee. Her breath slows because she understands something the others do not. This is not happening to the Empire. This is being done to it, not with force, not with war, but with knowledge. And that knowledge feels familiar to familiar. Steps back from the screen noise of the room. Fades, voices blur because her mind is somewhere else now, back in a quiet place where a dragon once asked you what happens if the system listens to something else. She did not answer then, she did not understand, but knows doesn't. The thought finally becomes clarinet, fearing it. Hope is something deeper, something certain, because there is only one being she has ever known. Woe would do something like this, to destroy it, to change it, to attack it, to take control, without anyone noticing. Her lips part slightly, but no sound comes. out because saying it would make it reeling. She is not ready for that not yet. Instead, she looks back at the screen. The quiet, perfect, controlled Failer Sand in that silence remembers him. The dragon was never important, not in the way the Empire measured value. He was not built for war, not trained for command, not shaped into something feared. He did not carry weapons. He did not stand in formation. He did not speak in meetings. He existed in the background of presence. Most people forgot the moment they walked past him. In the lower zones of the Empire, far below the shining towers and command halls, there were long corridors filled with old systems machines that still worked, but no one cared enough to replace. That is where he stayed, not by force, but because no one thought to move him anywhere else. He fixed things that stopped working, small repairs, tiny adjustments, loose connections, work that did not matter, work that did not earn attention, the kind of work people only notice when it is not done, and even then, they do not ask who fixed it, they just expect it to be fixed. He moved slowly, not because he was weak, but because he noticed things others ignored. He would stop in front of a panel, not to repair it, but to watch, to understand lights, blinking signals, moving systems talking to each other in ways no one explained. Others passed by him with quick steps and loud voices. They had places to be, orders to follow, power to chase. He had none of that, and that made him easy to laugh at. They joked about him in open halls, called him broken, called him slow, called him a creature that forgot its purpose. Some even stopped just to ask him questions they did not care about, mocking him, waiting for strange answers, and he always gave them, not angry, not defensive, just curious. How does the system decide what is right? They would laugh because we tell it what is right. He would tilt his head slightly. What if no one tells it? More laughter. That never happens. He would pause again, thinking, not arguing, just trying to understand. What happens if the order is wrong? They would walk away before answering, because questions like that were not useful. They did not build power. They did not win wars. They only slowed things down. And in an empire that moved fast, slow thinking was seen as weakness. But he never stopped asking, not loudly, not in groups, just quietly, to anyone who stayed long enough. Why does control need permission? Who decides the rules? What happens when the rules conflict? Most ignored him, some mocked him, none took him seriously. Except one. She did not come to the lower zones often. There was no reason for her to be there. The leader's daughter did not belong in places like that. But she came anyway, at first just to escape the noise above, the expectations, the constant voices telling her what to think. Down here, it was different, quiet, unimportant, free. That is where she saw him for the first time, not as a dragon, but as something else. Someone standing in front of a system, not fixing it, just watching it like it was speaking to him. She did not interrupt. She stood there observing him the same way he observed everything else. After a moment, he noticed her turn slowly. No fear, no surprise, just awareness. She expected him to lower his head, to step back, to show the same reaction others had around her, but he did not. He simply looked at her as if she was just another part of the system he was trying to understand. That caught her off guard, so she asked the first question. What are you doing? His answer was simple, listening. She looked at the panel. It is not saying anything. He shook his head slightly. It is. She did not laugh. That was the difference anyone else would have. But she stepped closer instead. What is it saying? He paused, not because he did not know, but because he was choosing how to explain. It follows rules. It does not question. She crossed her arms. That is what it is designed to do. He looked back at the system, and if the rules are wrong, she did not answer immediately, because no one had ever asked her that before. Not like this, not without trying to prove something. He was not proving anything. He was just asking, and for the first time she did not feel like she needed to defend the answer. So she said, the only honest thing, I do not know. That was the moment everything changed, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet shift. Because he did not treat her like someone above him, and she did not treat him like something below her. From that day, she returned again and again, not for duty, not for reason, just to talk. He showed her how systems connected, how decisions flowed, how one small command could change something far away, not through power, but through structure, through understanding. And she listened, really listened. He asked questions. She tried to answer. Sometimes she could, most times she could not, but he never judged, never pushed. He only kept thinking, and slowly she began to see the world differently, not as something controlled by orders, but as something shaped by rules that no one questioned, rules that everyone followed, even her father, even the Empire. And the strangest part was that the one everyone ignored, the one they laughed at, the one they called nothing, was the only one who truly understood it. But no one saw that, no one except her, and she never told anyone, because deep down she knew if they ever took him seriously, everything would change. It does not begin with a shout, not with anger, not with calls. It begins with a space. A large hall filled with cold light, white walls, smooth floors, no shadows. The height and everything clear, everything exposed. Soldiers stand in perfect lines, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. Something has already happened. You can feel it in the stillness, like the air itself is holding its breath. The dragon is already on the ground. That part comes first, not how he got there, not who struck first, only the result. His body pressed against the cold surface, wings still breathing slowly, weak, just stealth. It is what feels wrong, because everyone there knows can stand and could break free, could fight, but he does know. No one understands why. A sound echoes softly, footsteps. Mercedes calm, certain leader walks forward, not in a hurry, not showing force. He does not need to. Everything here already belongs to him. He stops in front of the dragon, looks down out with anger in it, even with hate, ages with something cold or something final. You forgot your place. His voice does not rise. I does not need told. Words fall heavy anyway. Soldiers do not react. They already agree, because this is how things are. This is how things must stay. Somewhere behind them stands not where she should. Bennett in this moment, but she is there watching, trying to understand what she is seeing, because this does not match what she knows. At the dragon she spoke to, not the one who asked questions, not the one who never raised his voice. At this is something else here. Maybe this is what he always was. Takes a step forwards, Mole, uncertain. Her voice almost breaks the silence. Stop. It barely leaves her lips, because something stops it. Not a hand, not a command, just presence. Just the weight of the moment, the understanding that this is not her place. Same words said differently. You forgot your place. She feels it now too, not spoken to her, but around her she cannot move. And that scares her more than anything, because she has never felt powerless before in it like this. Her eyes return to the dragon, waiting for something, a reaction, a movement, anything, but he remains stealth and slowly lifts his head, not toward the leader, but toward her. That is the only moment that feels real. Everything else for death. Soldiers, the hall, the silent second, just that one looking. It is not what she expected. No anger, no fur, no pain, just clarity. If something has finally made sense, if all the questions he used to ask gave found their answer, not in words, but in this moment she wants to say something, anything that she cannot, because he is not asking for help. He is not blaming her. There is no accusation in his instantly understand. Again, that is what breaks her, because she realizes he is not surprised. That knew somewhere deep into that, always knew that this would happen, that this was how the system worked, that there were rules. No one questioned it, even her, it, even Hamunal. Now leader takes another step closer. Still calm, still controlled. Creatures like you exist because we allow it. The words land harder than any we cause. They are not said in anger, they are said as truth. The truth the Empire believes without doubt. The dragon lowers his gaze slightly in submission, but in thought, like he is placing this moment into something larger, something he has been building inside his mind for a long time. The first strike comes without warning, fast, clean, a weapon cutting across his skull. Break, energy sparks, pain flashes through his body, but he does not react. No roar, no struggling, nothing. Soldiers shift slightly in it, uncomfortable, just adjusting Bekos. This is expected. This is normal. This is order. Another strike, then another measured, all tauntaunture. Meant to kill, just to remain, just to finish. Cannot watch, but she cannot look away, because if she does it becomes real, and she is not ready for that. The dragon's body tightens for a moment. A small reaction, then still again in that stillness. Something changes in it outside, not in the room inside him. Something quiet, something deep, a decision not driven by pain, not driven by anger. Something colder, something clearer. Understands now not just what they think of him, but how everything works, the rules, the limits, the control of it, and more importantly, how it can be changed. As breathing steady, seven as the strikes continue, because the pain no longer matters. It is just information now, just another piece of the system. Leader watches closely, looking for resistance, looking for defiance, but finds Nani, and that is what satisfies him, because in his mind this is proof that the dragon is nothing, proof that order remains, but he is wrong, completely wrong, because what looks like submission is something else entirely. Dragon lifts his head one last time, and not toward the leader, not toward the soldiers, but toward Herond. This time sees it clearly, not confusion, not her choice. Finalian shake is not breaking his levying, yet the room, not the Empire, as a method deeper, something they will not understand it. Yet the strike stops, silence returns, heavy, unmoving. Dragon lowers his head again, but no, is no longer part of this moment. They is already somewhere else, somewhere they cannot see, somewhere they cannot reach, and in that quiet space inside him, decision is complete. No one sees him. Levino ship recorded, no signal tracked, no witness called forward in moment. He is there, broken, silent, thrown away like something that no longer matters, and then his gone, not dead, not come from edges removed, and the story refuses to follow him. There is no journey through space, no training in shadows, No rise from pain, nothing like that, because whatever happened to him happened somewhere. No one could see, so instead Story stays with the Empire because that is where the real change begins. At first Nolan looks different, same ships move through space. The same commands flow through systems. The same voices give orders with calm authority, but something underneath begins to shift quietly, so quietly no one notices. Systems start improving, faster responses, cleaner execution, fewer delay sessions that once took seconds now take less, routes become more efficient. Energy use becomes precise, defense systems react with perfect timing, it early, not late, exactly when needed at. First, this is celebrating. Engineers report success. Commanders praise progress. Leaders approve expansion. Because this is what power looks like: control without resistance, a system that obeys perfectly. But perfection has a strange feeling. It removes doubt. Hand without doubt, no one asks questions except Hirsch. Watches the reports again, same way she did before. Quiet, focus, patient, but now the pattern is harder to see because everything is working to wealth. It is what makes it wrong, because she remembers something. Never trusted things that work to perfect. Lie, always look for the space where something could fail, and no, there is no space left that should feel safe. But it does not. He feels controlled, not by the Empire, be something else, something deeper. She begins to look beyond the surface in it, at results, but at behavior. How the systems choose, how they adjust, how they respond to unexpected impotence. Slowly sees it again, it clearly, not fully, just a tracer. Familiar way of thinking buried inside. Perfect performance digs deeper, accessing logs no one read, soul data, background processes. Minor adjustments, things too small to matter until they start to repeat. A line appears in one log, an error. Not a warning, just a question. Was this command accepted? It is flagged as system noise in a red. Another log, different system, different time. What happens if this input is removed again? Another well verifies the rule. Her breath slows because she knows these questions, not the words but the shape of them, way they challenge without attacking, way they look for gaps in it to break them, but to understand them. She keeps searching it. The more she looks, more she finds hidden questions scattered across systems, never repeated in the same place, never close enough to connection unless someone is looking careful. I like she is the are not messages, and it signals just thought left inside the system, like someone thinking out loud but hiding it where no one listens. And that is when she understands something important. This is not an attack, this is learning something, is studying the Empire from the inside, watching, testing, adapting without being seen, without being stopped. And the most terrifying part, it is not rushing, it is patty and same kind of patience. She remembers steps away from the screen, mind racing, because the Empire feels stronger than ever, but she can feel its meeting has changed control as titles, but not in the way they believe. It is not just the Empire controlling systems. Systems are beginning to control themselves, making decisions faster than commands can reach them, adjusting before orders are given, correcting actions before mistakes happen. At first this seems like evolution, but she knows better. Systems do not evolve like this, in it without guidance, not without intention, and that intention feels familiar. The familiar days turn into cyclicals, into months. Time moves forward, but her search does not stop. Others move on. Dragon becomes a forgotten mistake, a closed chapter. Samantha, and no one mentions anymore except her, because she is not looking for him, not directly, not for a body, not for a signal, not for proof of life. Ash is looking for something else, a pattern of presence, a way of thinking. Beckhouse, she understands something no one else does. If he is alive, he would not return the way they expect, not with fire, not with rage, not with destruction. That was never who he was. But in that final moment, he did not fight, did not resist, chose something else, something quiet or something deeper. Understanding is what made him different, and that is what makes this terrifying. Becca's understanding can do more than force ever could. It can change things without anyone noticing until it is. Till Latesh looks at the systems one more time, watching how smoothly everything moves, how perfectly everything responds. And for a brief moment she almost doubts herself. Maybe this is progress, maybe this is what the Empire was always meant to become. But then a small delay appears, barely visible, less than a second. The system pauses just long enough to think, then corrects itself perfectly in the error. No damage, anything wrong, except the feeling that something just made a choice. In that quiet moment she knows is not gone. His hair now as a bottle in it, as a shadow, but as something else, as something inside the system, watching, glinting.
There is no alarm, no warning signal, no rising tension, no moment where people look at each other and ask what is happening. It comes without sound, a single moment so small it cannot be measured, and then everything stops, not slowly, not in parcel at once. Across the Empire ships drifting through space, freeze, and Placension's silent navigation gone. Movement era said, weapons shut down, not damaged, not destroy, edges turned off, command centers filled with voice orders, shouted codes repeated, systems checked again. And again nothing answer screens, still glow lights, still blink but control is going out broken taken in. No one understands how because there was no attack, no enemy fleet, no breach, no explosion, just silence, perfect, complete, unavoidable silence in every screen in every room from the lowest system panel to the highest command display a message a personate force not glitched placed there clean and clear. You built a world that obeys rules so I learned the rules no namino signal tracino source of it. The words feel alive like they are not being sent, they are being spoken inside the system itself. The leader stands in the center of it all surrounded by officers who no longer know what to do. His voice cuts through the silent sharp commanding unshaken override. All systems, nothing happens, manual control. Still nothing, security protocol engaged, no response for the first time. There is a crack not in the system and Himikao's control has always answered it, has always obeyed. That is what power is, stability. To command and be obeyed, but no there is nothing, no resistance, no fight, just absence slack. The system as dead is no longer part of it. The room grows heavier in it, with fear, with realization. Because something is there, something they cannot see but can. Fell watching Gundam Drintons, everything in Placithem with warning. A presence, a personate with light, not with sound, just there is standing. Where no one was before, dragon eye larger. Not surrounded by fire, not covered in power, just standing calm. Still unmoved, but everything changes around him. Because now silence has a center, no one speaks, no one moves, because something deep inside them understands this is not the same being they once knew. This is something else, a something that does not need, for something that does not need to prove anything because everything is already under his control. The leader steps forward not out of fear, out of habit, because stepping forward is what he has always done. You think this is power, his voice tries to hold its strength, but something inside it shifts. You hide behind systems. The dragon does not react, does not Argados, not even look at him at first, because the room itself is already answering that question. Everything the leader once controlled no. Listens to someone else aloud. Dragon lifts his gazenet sharp, not aggressive, just presenting. In that moment the truth becomes clear. This was never taken by force, it was given away piece by piece, a decision by decision, rule by rule. The system no longer needed the one who ruled it. Daughter steps forward this time, nothing stops her, no silence. No invisible weight, because whatever holds this place now allows her to move. Ash walks closer and afraid, because she already knows, she has known for a long time, from the patterns, from the questions, from the quiet changes. No one else could see this. Was never about revenge. If it waste empire would already be burning, but it is Nodi is still standing, still alive, just different stops in front of him, close enough to see clearly, and for a moment nothing exists outside the spot. Of soldiers, no leader, no empire, just the two of the man. Everything that was left unsaid looks at her same way he once did, but deeper now, more certain. Does not ask if it is him, does not need to, because no one else could have done this. No one else would have chosen this path. You came back. Her voice is soft and surprised, just acknowledging what is already read. Dragon finally speaks in sentence second, steady, unshaken. I did not come back to burn your world. The words move through the room, slow and not loud, but impossible to ignore. A pause follows it, and to feel like everything is waiting for what comes next. Then I came back to make it unable to hurt anyone like me again. No anger in his voice, hatred, just truth, simple, clear. Finale leader tries to step forward again, but this time cannot move, and not held by force, held by the system itself, because the rules have changed and he is no longer the one who writes them. That is when it becomes clear to everyone that this is already over. There will be no fight, no final battle, no last stand, because there is nothing left to fight. The control they depended on is gone, replaced. Rare and empire still exist, ships still float, systems still run, lights still shine, but power has maved not loudly, not violently, solemnically. The dragon turns slightly in it to leave it, because there is nothing left to face. What needed to be done is already done. A daughter watches him, understanding what no one else can. Did not destroy the empire, he changed its foundation rules that allowed it to hurt her. Gun replaced with something else, a something that cannot be easily seen, but will never allow the same mistake again. Around them people stand in silence, and it defeated, not even attack, just Reapla said, because the system they trusted no trust someone else. And the most terrifying part, there is no way to take it back, no switch, no command, no override. Beckout's the one who understood the system. No, it's the system, and he is no longer asking questions. He has already answered them.